Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo. Tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Senator, Pagoda, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some whiskey, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 106th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a New World cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We answer some listener email about cigar towers and seasonal humidity changes. We have our first ever podcast cocktail, and we lament over brick and mortar retailers who don't understand their own products, all among a variety of other things for the next 90 minutes. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair Bulleit Bourbon Frontier Whiskey with the Foundation Cigars Olmec Robusto and Claro. A Nicaraguan Robusto tonight on the pod from Foundation. It's called the Olmec, and this version that we're smoking tonight is the Claro. It also has a Maduro. It's a 5x50 ring gauge cigar, and I've seen a lot of guys smoking this, Bam.
It's a popular cigar.
I feel like every time I'm in a lounge somewhere, I always see this black and yellow band being smoked. I don't know why. I've never had one. I've never known about them until we did the other Foundation cigars on the pod. But
True.
People seem to be loving this cigar.
I've had this 4 times prior to tonight. I kind of like it.
Has it always been the Claro?
Yes. I had one Maduro.
Was this a listener recommendation?
Yeah, we've actually had some other listeners saying, hey, with Foundation, try the Olmec. And then,
cool.
Also I've seen so many guys smoking them in lounges. I figured they must be pretty good. So
Yeah.
we'll see tonight.
Yep.
But first, boys, let's cut this thing. See, we're getting on the cold draw on the wrapper. It feels, for a Robusto, for some reason in my hand, it feels insignificant. It's like light. It just feels like dainty to me.
Yeah. And the draw is wide open and very, very floral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is not significant in my hand.
No.
And for a Robusto, I guess I'm comparing it to a Padron Exclusivo or something like that. But I
mean, this is a little shorter, right?
It's this is 5x50.
It doesn't feel like a 50.
What's the Exclusivo? 5.5?
I think it might be 5.5.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's just a half inch. I had the same reaction looking at it. I'm like, this is a small Robusto.
And I think it's lightly packed too. Like it's not.
That's true. It is a nice looking cigar though.
Yeah.
I will say the wrapper smells great.
Yeah.
And the cold draw is actually very nice.
Yes. Tons of floral notes.
Yeah. All right, boys, well, let's light this thing. The Foundation Olmec Robusto and Claro. Again, it's a 50 ring gauge cigar by 5 inches long. One of 5 in the line. Offered by Foundation.
How much were these?
These were $12.
Okay.
I think you could probably get them a little cheaper, like if you bought a box or something, like if you're really into them.
Yeah.
But I bought 2 5ers for us tonight.
Cool. I went to a local shop months ago, and they were presenting these cigars. It was packed with people. Packed.
Really?
There's a big following behind this stick.
Well, Nick Melillo, who founded Foundation in 2015, is the guy who's primarily responsible, alongside Steve Saka, for blending the Liga Privada line for Drew Estate. So he himself has had a following probably going on almost 20 years now. And then his brand he launched about 10 years ago, which, this is the third of his brand that we're smoking tonight.
I know you'll get a chuckle, but you do get a lot of citrus on this light, I think.
I agree with you.
Right.
A little citrusy.
Lemony.
Yeah. It's like a little tart.
It's kind of weird because on the cold draw, I don't know, I thought I tasted tea. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's right.
We've called that out before here.
Floral tea kind of a thing, yeah.
Yeah, it was like...
That's accurate.
I don't know. I thought that was strange. I said, I should just keep my mouth shut.
Never. Not you.
I feel like I'm going to have to work very hard tonight to not smoke this in 40 minutes.
It's wide open.
I feel like I'm going to fly through this cigar tonight.
Yeah, it feels like that.
So what are you guys thinking on the light?
Not bad.
Yeah, pretty good. They list this as a full cigar in strength. I certainly would not say that on the light. I would say it's hovering firmly medium, just
agree.
Maybe just above mild.
Yep. cigars like this are interchangeable with a lot of other cigars.
Yeah.
Like this for me is kind of reminiscent to the aging room cigar.
Hmm.
Just in the way it's made, the way it smokes, the price point. It's kind of in that medium range of sticks that aren't super premium, but they're not low grade. It's a decent cigar.
This is so far better than the aging room, I think.
It's smoother.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, the aging room still had a little harshness, I believe,
Yeah,
if I
that's
remember
right.
correctly.
This is true.
Still had a little oomph to it.
Yeah, I remember I have aging room on and off because some of my friends have it all the time, and I kind of like it. It's a pretty easy smoke.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah, very. It's like it's somewhat short of being a Padron. I think Padron-esque.
Exactly right.
From what
Yeah.
I remember, I think the aging room had a little bit more spice to it.
It did.
Do you agree?
I think from the point of view of the grade of the cigar, they're kind of similar to me. Just
Yeah.
interchangeable that way.
Darker wrapper, though.
Very
right?
dark. Yeah.
On the aging room.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get just a little bit of barnyard in this?
Mhm. I was getting that on the foot on the cold, before we lit it.
Yeah, I get that on
I was
the
getting a
finish,
little
actually,
boneyard,
bit.
but I didn't sense that it was any more than I would get on a normal Nicaraguan or a Mexican San Andres wrapper. But I am definitely getting it on the on the actual smoke.
For me, I feel like I usually from a Nicaraguan, it's more like earthy and less barnyardy, like more like forest, like stuff like that. Where this is more just that kind of musty barnyard flavor note. But the thing I'm happy about, it's very much in the background. I don't love a cigar that's got, Grinder, obviously, he loves barnyard in a cigar, but
Yeah.
it's just in the background that I don't think it takes away from the other flavors, which is good.
I also think I'm getting that on the burn line too, which complements what you're saying.
Just a touch of manure.
Or horsefoot, as would say.
Horse
Menu. What are we smoking here,
Dr.
guys?
Scholes does not approve.
So the wrapper on this cigar is a Mexican San Andres. Binder is a combo from Nicaragua, both from Esteli and Jalapa. And the filler is, as they say, undisclosed, quote unquote.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a secret.
Okay.
So they do not reveal the innards of the cigar. The cigar comes in five.
Can you not call them the innards? I mean, Jesus.
Are you like filleting a turkey? The innards?
Hey, we're getting close.
We are.
Couple weeks.
That's right.
So there are 5 sizes in the line. Both are offered in Claro and in Maduro. We have the Robusto that we're smoking tonight, which is 5 by 50. The Corona Gorda, 5.5 by 48. The Toro, 6 by 52. The Grande, which is a 6 by 60. And the Double Corona, which is a 7 by 54. That's a big cigar.
I think we should have been smoking that today.
No.
I don't think so.
No way. I also think there's a danger in this. I've had this cigar very quick, and it backfires on you if you smoke it too quickly.
You push it a little too hard.
Oh, yeah.
So, like I said, this is the third Foundation cigar we've had on the podcast. The first was the Tabernacle in Robusto Maduro on episode 43. And we did the El Huawense Wise Man Maduro in Toro Huaco on episode 95. So now this is the guys are laughing at my pronunciation. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Doing
No,
good.
Well done.
The effort is there, and we appreciate it, Gizmo.
I just like how you analyze the room to see our reactions.
Well, I look up and you're all laughing at me. I'm trying to tell the people what we're doing.
It's adorable.
So these
What was the Wednesday?
Huawense, yeah. So these cigars come in very Cuban-esque. I don't know if you guys saw this in prepping for the episode, but it comes in very Cuban-esque cedar boxes. Almost reminds me kind of like a Sir Winston box without the lacquer. Certainly, I think the cigar that's in it is a little different, but comes in 12-count boxes with the Olmec logo on them. So this cigar is named for the tropical lowlands of the Mexican states, as they say, of Veracruz, Tabasco, and San Andres Tuxtla, which we know that name Tuxtla from Tatuaje.
Oh,
Obviously has some,
That's a rooster favorite.
loves that cigar.
My eyes light up.
That's a holiday nightmare.
What's with the look at the man? What's the guy wearing? What's on his head?
Helmet.
Yeah, it
Is
looks
that
like
like
a
a-
helmet.
Is he like a Inca? Like a
Well, he's an Olmec.
wow.
He's wearing a beanie.
Yeah. That's what this line is celebrating, is the people that were there many, many years ago in the regions where some of these wrappers are grown. That cigars we love, especially out of Nicaragua, are using these Mexican San Andres wrappers. What's interesting too, Rooster mentioned this before we came on, the seed varietal is considered one of the oldest seed varieties that still exist in the world today. So I guess it's just been held, I don't know if it rivals Cuban tobacco.
Cuban
Wow.
seed.
I don't know.
Cuban seed, apparently.
Yeah, it must rival the
Interesting.
age of the Cuban seed that we're smoking when we smoke Cuban cigars. But I thought that was pretty cool. And like I said, it says that it contains the finest Nicaraguan filler tobaccos from Esteli and Jalapa valleys. After fermentation, the filler tobaccos are bale aged for 3 years before arriving on the production floor.
Did you just retrohale?
Did I?
Yeah, you did. Very proud of you.
Maybe it just happened.
That's the thing. That's what
I can't,
That is
you know,
that was impressive.
if you ask me to do it, I can't do it. If
I'm
it
the
just
exact
happens.
same. I had a pre-pod smoke, and I was sitting there, and I retrohaled just coincidentally. I was like, "Oh, that was amazing," but I can't do it on command.
Performance anxiety.
The cigar, the finish is a little dry, isn't it?
I agree.
Yeah, it is dry.
Yeah, it's not giving me much right now. It's not very complex for me.
It's not a complex cigar, one-dimensional, I think.
And I don't think I'm loving the texture of the smoke in my mouth.
So I agree that it has a dry finish and maybe a short to medium finish. It's definitely not a long finish.
Not at all.
But the only thing that I'm just a little, I'm intrigued in a good way. Just the flavor notes that I'm getting out of this for a Nicaraguan are not exactly typical Nicaraguan notes, which I like. I mean, the fact that like the first note Bam called out was citrus, you don't get that typically on a Nicaraguan. It's like the first note you would pick up. So I'm just intrigued. There's something different here where I worried that this was going to be trying to be a carbon copy of kind of your standard Nicaraguan Robusto and just probably not done as well. And it's not. It's clearly going for something else. So it's at least keeping my interest of just where this is going to go.
I think on that cold draw, I got that floral note. It's very powerful for me. That is consistent and it's dissipating, but it's consistent and it's there. And that citrus just evaporated after 2 or 3 draws. But that floral, along with the deep coffee and some earth, is what you're getting. That's what I'm getting.
And the floral's unique. I mean, I
For a
don't know of
Nicaraguan, yeah.
another Nicaraguan Robusto
That's
that I
true.
would say I get floral notes out of. I really don't.
This is definitely a smooth delivery of Nicaraguan tobacco. Even compared to some of the others that we've done and loved and smoked still after having done them on the podcast. With the Mexican San Andres wrapper, which Pagoda always calls out. Like, this is a very smooth delivery. I'm not sure I'm loving it at this moment, but we'll see how it develops.
Yeah.
I mean, just on the smooth delivery, the thing that I immediately think of, and Bam was kind of mentioning this before we hit record. I mean, if this stays this way all the way through, this is probably the best introduction to a Nicaraguan cigar for a novice smoker.
Absolutely. I think we discussed that before the recording. This is exactly what the cigar is.
And
It's
maybe
a great
that's
intro cigar.
maybe that's what I'm missing in other Nicaraguan cigars that that my palate is accustomed to. Is I'm expecting a little bit more oomph, not in spice. I always say this when we have a Nicaraguan that's
body.
not very spicy.
In body.
I'm
That's
glad
it.
it's not
Yeah.
spicy,
Yeah.
but I wish there was a little more body. I wish there was a little more complexity. Call it earth, call it sweetness, call it something coming in that's absent right now. But to your point, I think that the simplicity of the flavor in this blend right now,
Mm-hmm.
I think is very appropriate for a novice smoker.
And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say just one thing I would disagree with a little bit there. I wouldn't, to me, the flavor is actually not simple or simplistic. I actually think that there is a decent amount of complexity to the flavor profile of the cigar, which I give it credit for. I just think it lacks body like we would want or expect from a Nicaraguan.
Right.
And I just say that because I can pick out several distinct flavor notes from where it started with citrus to floral to cocoa. There's a nuttiness, barnyard. I mean, the fact that all of those exist, that's not a simple profile to me, which I give it credit for. And that's where I think like for someone that's probably used to a very basic, straightforward flavor profile and a very mild cigar, this is probably like their best on-ramp toward some more
Exactly right.
complex cigars and some ones with some more strength. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I mean, it's odd. I feel like I'm going to be probably defending this cigar a lot tonight, but it's.
I like putting him in this position.
Yeah, no, I just, we talk about so many sticks where like, this is probably not for me, but I could maybe see this is for someone else. And some we say, we don't know who this is for. I'm seeing a very clear lane for this cigar. And if this can stay like this all the way through, my rating will reflect that. Like, I do think there is merit to something like
Right. And that not the idea that this could be for a beginner or a guy or girl that's been smoking for a year could latch onto this. And because these notes are so pronounced, they'll gravitate to it and stick with it for a while until they graduate to an exclusivo, maybe.
Or even for a smoker like myself, for many of us in this room, I mean, if this stays like this all the way through, I would like to sup in the morning with a
earlier
coffee.
in the day.
Correct.
And I'd be very happy.
Yeah.
Where I normally don't reach for a Nicaraguan in the morning. I reach for a Cuban or something more medium if it's a Dominican cigar. So there could even be a place for this.
Yeah. Does this remind you of a Padron at all?
Not at all for me.
Right? I mean, this has been compared to I've seen it.
No.
Like they've mentioned that it's kind of like a Padron, like in a family reserve line. It's not quite.
No.
It's not like that.
I think that's a
That's a
very
far-
big reach.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
to hear it
agree.
compared to that.
I think this, like I said, you graduate to that cigar after a few years of smoking this, I think.
I don't even think that this. I don't
It's
even
just no
think there's a comparison
No.
point here,
No.
and I don't even say better versus worse
It's just different.
in the Padron 1000 series line, which is a similar pricing strategy. I don't even think that these are in the same ballpark as far as cigar, in body, in blend. I think those are actually a little harsher for me young than this is right now. Maybe because Padrones are notoriously a little bit have a little bit more oomph, but
Mhm.
I don't think that this compares to any Padron that I've had.
No, because that heavy floral note for me distinguishes it.
So I agree with that. The only thing that oddly maybe this is somewhat like is not any of the Padron Maduros, but some of
Natural?
the Padron Naturals.
That could be.
Because those are lighter I mean, they're not milds, but they're certainly not as full-bodied as most of the Maduros really are. I mean, I think the lightest Maduro they make is, I would still call like medium full. Like an Exclusivo would be probably medium full. So just some of the naturals, maybe this is somewhat like, even though the flavor profile is different.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like, Padron doesn't come to my mind when I'm smoking this. Like,
Right.
not at all.
Right.
I'm thinking more in terms of some other lighter cigars. Not that I smoke that. I'm thinking
But
which one's
it's
going
not.
to be.
It's not mild. It's not. It's got a good amount of body. I
Yeah.
think it's even has some spice. There's some pepper.
Just
I
a
mean, I
bit.
get some. Yeah.
I'm
getting
even
a little-
getting.
I'm sorry, Senator. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm even getting like minerality now. Like there's like this saltiness at the tip of my tongue as I'm taking a draw.
I'm getting that right in the middle of my tongue on this guy.
I actually didn't take a draw for about a minute and a half while we were talking,
That's the way to do it.
and I feel like as I'm slowing down, I'm getting way more flavor.
Agreed.
I'm letting it build up. I think I would urge you guys to try that, to
Yeah.
just smoke it a little slower,
You need
because
to nurse this cigar.
I'm about what, 3/4 of
I've
an
been
inch
doing
in?
it for 25 years.
Well, since 2010, I thought.
I'm enjoying the discussion because I feel like there's a lot of times that we have a discussion about a Nicaraguan cigar that's not as interesting as this to me, even sitting here, in that I like that we're all kind of finding a different angle to it. And the thing I want to challenge you, Senator, because you have some pretty definitive thoughts on it. I'm curious, and not right now, if just rack your brain as we're recording, but what other cigars you would compare this to? And also, when you think about other cigars you've rated for that, you were saying that you see a lane for a type of smoker. What other cigars that we've reviewed or not, or you smoke or not, would you also throw in that same lane? Like, I'm thinking about that. So I'll just kind of toss that T-ball up,
I mean, I'll just
for
say,
later,
I'll give this more thought, but why I'm intrigued by this cigar is nothing else really comes to mind. And I think that there are times that we've talked about some Nicaraguans that we've done on the pod that,
Ash, all over myself. I mean, all over myself. Sorry, Senator.
we'll have Rooster bring his Dyson next time. So the thing that just surprises me, I mean, I feel like we've done some Nicaraguans before where we expected them to be bold in flavor and they weren't, but the flavor profile was so muddled
Mhm.
and muted that I wouldn't even recommend it for a novice smoker because you couldn't make sense of what you were supposed to get there. And with this, I mean, every note is very clear
It's
and
distinct.
distinct and just put together.
Yeah.
Like there was thought put into this cigar in this blend.
Yeah.
So I'm
note.
shockingly very, very intrigued by
Yeah,
this
you're not
cigar.
having to define the note and take time with it. You know what it is. And that's a quintessential novice cigar, first timer.
I'm glad you said some thoughts being put into it because I was thinking about Nick Melillo. Everything he does, it seems like he takes his time to figure it out. And he's been in business for long enough, and he's still going slowly in terms of developing his portfolio in a very organized and a very systematic manner.
Yeah. And he has a lot of brands. But to your point, we talked about Rocky Patel we did 2 weeks ago. How many lines did we say he has? 50? 100? I don't remember. I mean,
5,000.
Turn off his mic, please.
Rooster's getting PTSD right
He's
now.
getting angry.
And so Nick Melillo, having been in business now 10 years, effectively has 10 lines of, varying quality and blends. So I'll go through these again. I know we've hit them on the prior 2 episodes. So anybody who wants a little bit deeper dive into the history of Foundation and Nick Melillo, check out episodes 43 and 95. But so they have the El Huense Corojo and the Wise Man Maduro, which are sister cigars. The Tabernacle, which we did, like I said, on episode 43, the Robusto. They have the High Clare Castle. They have the Charter Oak, which I think is their budget line. They have the Olmec that we're smoking tonight, the Upsetters, the Manalik, the Knight Commander, and the Matapa.
I haven't heard of any of these cigars.
So I haven't heard of the last 4. I don't know much about those. But, again, this, to Pagoda's point, this being the 3rd cigar that we're smoking of his. Also, if you want to add in the work that he did with Liga and those cigars that we've smoked and enjoyed, I mean, he's kind of hitting home runs on the podcast.
Yeah. Bam, have you
Agreed.
had the Maduro in this?
I have. It's a bit stronger than this and much more body.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's an Olmec Maduro.
Yeah. So this is the Claro.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
smoking the
Okay,
Claro
so
tonight.
then, I mean, let's say in
That's
fairness,
what validates your point about Padron.
And I'm like, this kind of reminds me just a little bit, not a lot, of some Padron Naturals. Maybe that Maduro
It's
smokes
closer.
more like some of
It
the
is
Padron
closer
Maduros.
to most of the Padrones that we've smoked.
So when I read
Interesting.
the
Yeah.
article, that's what they compared the Maduro
Yeah.
to the Padron line.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
that,
Yep.
that does make sense.
It has a very deep, deep dark wrapper.
yeah.
Yeah,
When you
because-
hold it, very deep.
Because when you think of the Mexican San Andres wrapper, you're
Right.
thinking about the deep, dark, the cocoa coffee.
So maybe that's something for next year. We put the Maduro version of this maybe in, the Corona or even the Toro, because honestly, I often say the opposite when I have a Toro in my hand. I'm wishing for a different size, but I think based on how I feel by with this 5x50, I do think I would have preferred the 6x52 in this from a size standpoint. Which
Well,
I'm Pagoda's thrilled to hear me say that, by the way. He lit up
Yes.
like a Christmas tree.
There's
Of
also
course.
a 5.5 by 48.
Yeah, the Corona.
Yeah.
Corona Gorda. Which I know,
Which-
in Cuban
yeah.
cigars, we love that size.
Right.
We do.
And I also love that size in the Liga Privada series that he blended, the Corona Viva.
You love that cigar.
I love
Yeah,
that
you bought
cigar.
those.
And I have those for next year as well.
So do they make a Lancero?
No, they don't.
Gizmo's out.
No pigtails, no Lanceros. I'm sorry. So Nick Melillo is based out of Connecticut. We've talked about that, like I said, on a previous episode, and runs his business from up there. And I wanted to mention, just talking about Connecticut, Arturo Fuente, Carlito Fuente, was actually up in Connecticut in October, so last month. And it was his first time ever having gone to Greenwich, Connecticut. And he went to what they called the Burning Tree Country Club. I guess they did like a big charity dinner. And in one night, Fuente raised $335,000 for the Cigar Family Charitable Foundation.
Incredible.
In one night,
Incredible.
over $300,000.
Welcome to Greenwich.
Yeah.
So I guess he did that obviously by the table fee, the plate fee to get people in the door. But I guess he did a big auction, had a bunch of industry folks there. Everybody went. They sold one cigar, for example, for $5,500.
Yowza.
A 9-inch plus cigar in a wooden coffin signed by Carlito Fuente himself one of the Opus Fuente Opus X Perfection,
Nice.
which we did on the podcast, if you remember. Not
Oh
that
my.
one. We didn't smoke the 9.
Oh,
No,
the
not
9-inch one.
I was
but-
like, someone got robbed if they paid that much for that cigar.
yeah, I mean, some lots closed as high as $30,000. It was reported.
wow.
Purple Rare Humidors, round of golf in the Hamptons, trip to the Dominican to go to the Fuente factory with
Cool.
Carlito.
That's cool.
20th anniversary Lanceros with a blue band, which I guess is very rare. You know, we're not an Opus podcast, but
Did you have someone attend and put in a bid for you on that?
I did. Well, I wanted the Lanceros, you know. It went for 25,000. My cap was 23.5, so they just edged me out. $2,500 a cigar.
That's crazy.
You know, you're talking like Cuban prices, aged Cuban prices, crazy
Yeah.
Cohiba prices for that. So it shows you what Carlito's developed with Opus X and his brand over the years, like this cult of celebrity,
huge
and
following.
huge following.
Huge.
People like worship the guy. But it's nice to see them raise that kind of money for charity. I think that's brilliant.
There's that, and just what Carlito's done for charity, just generally. I mean, you look at like the rare
The
pink
rare pinks,
line.
yep.
and
Yeah.
I just feel like it's always been a big focus for him, like really giving back, and you got to respect that what
Absolutely.
he's done.
So other than breast cancer awareness, what other charities is he? Do we know what he supports?
So the Cigar Family Charitable Foundation, let me look here for you.
Did they ever come out with that cigar for Padron and vice versa?
Not yet.
I don't think
it
it's
was
out
supposed
yet.
to come out, I think, last year, the year before. I think it's coming out holidays this year, actually soon, maybe, but it's pretty well delayed.
It was supposed to be out last November,
Yeah,
roughly.
yeah. So it's at least a year behind.
You can't rush the hands of time. Is that on his ashtrays?
It's
Can't
on every
rush
box. I
the
think.
hands of Carlito.
So the Cigar Family Foundation has a Cigar Family School. I think this helps Dominican families and children
Oh, that's
In
right. He
need,
builds schools.
build
down there, I
schools
think. Yeah.
exactly, and helps folks to raise $335,000. Man, that's
That's awesome.
that's incredible in one
Yeah.
night.
Oh yeah.
So good for him.
I gotta tell you, I'm liking the pairing tonight.
So am I.
Yeah, a lot.
I'm shocked. I have 2 cubes of ice in this bourbon. Not neat, but pretty close, and it's pretty damn good.
And very well priced. This bottle was 40 something bucks.
So what do we have tonight? So
Yeah.
this is just straight Bulleit bourbon.
Bullet bourbon.
That's it.
Is there any age statement on this?
No, but from what I've read, on average, all of these like Bulleit, Maker's Mark,
bottles right there. If you want to
Woodford Reserve, they're usually around 4 years.
Oh yeah.
So I think we all came in anticipating that this was not going to be drinkable
Yeah.
either without a lot of ice or neat at all.
Well-
And it's very serviceable as it is with 2 cubes.
Yeah. It's tough without ice though. I gave it a try on neat. It's a little tough.
Put just a couple cubes in. I mean,
I
it
put
goes
2.
down.
It transforms the
almost
drink.
too easily.
It transforms the drink. It's fantastic.
And I feel like it's a light bourbon,
It is.
versus some of the other bourbons that we've had and I've had.
Yeah.
And with the Claro that we have tonight, not a Maduro cigar, with the Claro, I actually think it's pairing quite nicely with
I
this.
like the floral notes in the bourbon that pair nicely with the floral notes in the cigar. 100%.
I
Works
agree.
great.
And the funny thing is, like, I fully understand for true bourbon aficionados, and I don't call myself one. They're looking for a really rich, flavorful bourbon, and so a Bulleit, a Maker's Mark, some of these lighter bourbons obviously don't garner any respect from folks like that, and I get why. But I do think, I mean, as we're talking about a cigar like this, or you just think about certain occasions where a hot day, the afternoon, where you don't necessarily want a full-bodied experience from a spirit. And we've talked about some lighter scotches that we like at certain times. And I think of something like this, just like I think of something like just regular Maker's Mark. There are occasions where you want something with some flavor, but not a whole ton of body, not something overpowering or aggressive or overproof. And I mean, this is so easily drinkable. It's insane.
And I
Yeah.
think the thing that needs to be said too is sometimes you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of options. You don't have a Total Wine. You don't have a well-stocked, liquor store nearby, and they have kind of the run-of-the-mill brands. It's nice to know that if you need to grab a bourbon, this is pretty damn good. I can't tell you the last time I've had it because I've just avoided it, I guess, purely based on price.
Yeah, because it's citrusy and floral, this is a great summer drink.
It is.
Yeah.
And I mean, to Gizmo's point too, you think of when you're at like a bar or at a wedding, right? And
Wedding.
there's like
This is
limited options.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah, I could sip this the whole night. It'd go down so easy.
Absolutely.
And the funny thing for
Great
me,
point.
this is, I guess this validates at least that I had some semblance of taste at a young age, because I
when he
remember
was 12,
drinking.
by the way, Ben, 12.
Well, I just remember
Lighting
drinking.
up a Padron at 9.
I just remember drinking like, Bulleit, like some in college, but really like when you're right out of college and, you're not making a whole lot, you're trying to be, pretty frugal. And so I remember like I would be able to sip this with ice on the rocks, or, I mean, this is, I think, kind of regarded as like, has to be one of the biggest mixing bourbons that exist. It's in like, I think of like a mint julep, or like so many events I've been to, and like all the bourbon cocktails are mixed with Bulleit.
It's true.
And so I feel like I've drank a lot of this stuff, but it's been a while since I've had it, and I'm just shocked. I was expecting it to be harsh and something that maybe years ago what I would have thought was drinkable and now wouldn't. It's so easy to drink.
Yeah. It's a great budget pairing tonight. That's
guess
that's punching above its weight class.
The bourbon has to be good if it's being used in some mixed drinks.
Yeah.
Some cocktails. So,
And they've got a cool history also, Bulleit. I was looking this up just out of curiosity before we hit record. The Bulleit's been around for almost 200 years.
That's amazing.
It's wild.
And you look at Knob Creek, which we did recently, and
Yeah.
their history is so short.
It's true.
There's really nothing to talk about.
Right.
Like, I really had a stretch to like come up with some stuff that I thought was interesting to kind of color the pairing experience a few episodes ago. Like,
You're a good color man.
thanks, Bam. Call me John Madden.
But just going back to their history, they basically, a guy named Augustus Bulleit founded it around 1830. He made the first batch. The current recipe follows the original mash bill produced by Augustus, which is 2/3 corn, 1/3 rye. And as they've implemented today, precisely, it's 68% corn, 28% rye, and 4% malted barley. In its early days, it was made at what was then called the Ancient Age Distillery, which is the modern-day Buffalo Trace Distillery, which is a legendary distillery in Kentucky. Then Seagram's bought the Bulleit brand in 1997 and started distilling it at the Four Roses Distillery in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky.
We did Four Roses Small Batch Select. That was
right. Yeah.
excellent.
Yep. A long
That's
time
right.
ago.
And then the brand was introduced in the U.S. market in 1999, in Europe and Australia in 2000. And then in 2017, Diageo, who owns everything, bought Bulleit, and they opened a new huge 300-acre, $115 million distillery that now only makes and distills Bulleit products.
Sounds like they're selling enough of it.
Yeah.
Jeez,
You would
crazy.
think.
I mean, I
Crazy.
would
That's
have
amazing.
never assumed that a company would put that kind of an investment in one budget liquor.
Well, think about it. If
That's a
it's-
lot of money.
If it's being mixed and it's being drunk with ice, it's being consumed, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of volume going out there.
It is a staple in every bar, at least in New York City.
Every single
Everywhere.
bar has
Around
this.
the world,
it's-
honestly.
Every liquor store has
It's
it.
Bulleit Bourbon and Bulleit Rye.
Yeah.
plus the price point, $40. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very,
pretty damn good.
Yeah.
very affordable.
So, boys, we're about halfway through here on the Olmec, Robusto, Claro. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Hasn't picked up in strength.
No,
It's about
hasn't
the
changed
same,
much.
yeah.
Pretty consistent.
I've slowed down a little bit, like
Me
I
too.
said, and I've been doing that since I said that, and it's actually really improved my smoking experience.
You're
tonight.
way ahead of us.
Yeah,
by the
you're
way.
still smoking a bit
You're not
too
slowing
fast
down
there.
there.
Jesus.
I'm
dude.
halfway through.
You're pulling a pagoda.
That's true.
You're more than halfway through.
Pagoda's got
Pagoda.
like double the cigar
Wow.
that you have.
That is not true.
That's unusual.
I have about 3.5 inches there. 3 inches.
All right.
All right, you're on a timeout. No,
So-
no more draws.
Just point to me whenever I can draw. We'll get an intern to do the timer. So you mentioned kind of briefly there about using Bulleit in a mixed drink.
Mm.
So tonight, for the first time, we're going to make a mixed drink and consume it on the podcast.
Roll up your sleeves, Pagoda.
So
We-
Pagoda,
We have a mixologist with
we have a
us.
We do.
mixologist Pagoda, Dr. P, and he's going to make us.
Dr. P. I like that.
Please, but my name keeps getting. Oh, this is ridiculous.
It's morphing.
I like
You know?
that. Dr. P in the
Can we give a
house.
story actually before Pagoda makes
Yes,
these?
please.
So this is perfectly fitting because I remember when Pagoda joined our former lounge before we really knew him. And I remember hearing about him from Rooster, and I had just seen him once, but we hadn't really had an extensive conversation. And I just remember sitting in the lounge, probably with some of you in the room, and Pagoda was with some like high school friends of his that he had brought over to the lounge. And he's standing at the bar. He's brought with him everything to make Manhattans. He's got the full setup on the bar. He's sitting there mixing, making cocktails for people, handing them out left and right. And I'm like, I got to meet this guy. I mean, this is amazing. So that was
By the
when
way,
I
he didn't
kinda-
even know us, and he would be handing out drinks. I remember when we first met, like he was just handing stuff out.
Yep.
I had told him about us, so he kind of had an idea.
No, I don't remember that. No, but I'll tell you, that lounge was also, we've had some really good times there. It was fantastic the way it was set up at the bar, and a lot of fun. Yeah. And, we, like, between me and my friends, we always had a lot of, and every time we go to either Carnegie or Merchants or wherever, I think our drink of choice is either the Belvany, neat. And some days we'll either do the old fashioned or the Manhattans. So, I'm very comfortable making those.
Giddy up.
Do I
Yeah.
start?
Let's make some drinks.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the first time on the podcast we've had a lot of listeners, and I know we've teased it. I mean, it started, I think, on episode 3 when we were
Teased it?
talking about.
I've been begging for a cocktail.
I know
Okay.
Senator's going to make paper planes for us.
Yes.
Puba is someday, maybe episode 300, going to make Bloody Marys for us.
There we go.
We have a bunch of stuff, but tonight we're going to start with Dr. P, our mixologist.
Can I assist? I'll just take the cork out of the bottle.
Pagoda's got a large vessel that he's going to use to mix this. I understand this is not to be shaken.
Don't forget
Only
Bam Bam's
stirred.
contribution here.
James Bond would be very pleased with it. Oh, sorry. James Bond would not be pleased. He's
He's shaken,
shaken, not stirred. Pagoda's only stirring. All right. He's carefully measuring the bourbon, making sure he's got just the right proportions.
Well, Bam Bam's measuring.
Oh, Bam Bam's. All right. So we're all going to leave here in Ubers.
He's telling me what to do.
I see about two
Finger pours.
Wow.
All right. That's, I think, the third shot of bourbon.
That's right.
Made its way into the vessel. That's
Number
what we
4.
call it.
There's the fourth.
I've never seen Dr. P so focused.
Well, it comes to drinks.
So now what is he pouring in there?
All right, now he's got sweet vermouth, which
Ah.
is a key ingredient in a Manhattan.
And keeps it refrigerated
That's right.
You must keep it
Very
refrigerated,
important.
right?
That's right.
once open.
Fortified wine, it does go bad. That was very good counsel by Puba.
How long when it's in the fridge? I don't know if we discussed this. After you put a bottle of sweet vermouth in the fridge, how long does it last? If it's-
Puba said months.
okay,
Yeah,
so it doesn't go bad like wine does.
yeah.
And it's putting in bitters.
All right,
8.
8 dashes of bitters. So let me just make sure I have the ratios. It was 3 shots of bourbon,
No, 4.
4 shots of bourbon. How many vermouth? 2 sweet vermouth, and then 8 dashes of bitters. All right. Goda's got a proper mixing spoon.
Little ice.
I see beads of sweat accumulating.
He's definitely stressing.
You're not counting the stirs, Senator?
101, 102.
That's it.
Let us proclaim the mystery of faith. I feel like I'm in church with this like clinging right now.
Oh.
Where's Pastor Jay?
Oh.
What are you making? Whack juice?
Yeah. No, all you need is really. You want to try?
Yes.
Let's go.
I'm the guinea pig.
All right, so now Dr. P is pouring us
You know what?
And we have some proper stemware.
we have proper stemware with the 1086 logo.
That's
Yeah.
right. We have some martini glasses that you see a bar traditionally serve a Manhattan up in.
Here we go.
All right, Bam is the taste tester.
Nice color on the drink.
Very nice color. Fantastic, actually. Look at that.
Perfect amber.
Gorgeous. That's pretty good.
All right.
All right, let's try it.
All right.
That
Here we
is
go.
pretty good.
I'm excited.
All right. I can't tell you the last time I've had a mixed drink, period.
Cheers.
All right, so Pagoda, thank you for the beautiful looking Manhattans. Cheers, boys.
Salute.
To Dr. P.
To Dr. P, the mixologist. And our first mixed drink on the pod. Very exciting. Let's try this.
Just smell it before you drink it. The nose is
Oh,
great.
it does smell
It
wonderful.
is.
Oh, that's excellent. Pagoda, well done.
This is really good.
When it has the right temperature, it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And the
thank
thing
you.
with-
Yeah.
Damn, homeboy.
I
That's
think
pretty
this is
good.
I love this bourbon in this drink.
It's so smooth.
It's perfect.
Yeah, the bourbon, the Bulleit bourbon works really well. I also do it with the Bulleit rye sometimes.
And what does that do for it?
It's a slightly different flavor. I think it's a bit less sweeter.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think it's a bit more sweet, but I find it's just a slightly different taste. And so what you're supposed to also do is have orange peels and then put it around, and then you just leave it at the garnishing.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a little. You want that little,
little citrus.
Yeah,
little
man.
citrus.
Some people in the room like citrus.
Not me.
That's very good, and I love it with a cigar.
Honestly, the sweetness, this is a great post-dinner drink. If you want to avoid a dessert, it's a fantastic end to the night. I like it a lot.
Yeah, well done.
So I think this in this, like, now that I've tasted it, I would put a little bit less sweet vermouth in the next one, so that it's a little less sweet and
A bit drier.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Cool.
I think it works. I'm just happy there's, I guess this bourbon is just so smooth. Sometimes you get a Manhattan, there can be a little bit of a bite, even when you see them really mixing it and it's served cold. This is just, you could put these back.
Yeah, this
Could
could
be
be very
dangerous.
dangerous.
Oh,
Yeah.
What other bourbons do they use for Manhattans and old
Woodford
Fashions?
for sure. Pagoda, you would know.
Yeah, I typically use either Woodford Reserve or Bulleit. That's it. Those are the two I go. With Maker's Mark, it just doesn't taste the same.
That like woody flavor you get in Maker's Mark would overpower
Yeah.
a cocktail like this.
Oh, yeah. I think Mrs. Bam Bam would like this. No doubt about
I
it.
think Mrs. Gizmo would love this too.
Oh, yeah. 2 or 3 of these. Gonna have a good time that night.
by the solo.
Oh, yeah.
Get that solo fire pit going.
Yes, sir.
You'd be surprised that the second one always tastes better, and I wonder why.
Yeah, that's
But-
really good, Pagoda. Thank you.
So in this, I typically use just the Angostura bitters. I was looking for the Angostura orange bitters today, which can be used in case you don't have the orange peels, but they didn't have it. They did have. There's another brand, Fee, I think, bitters, which I typically don't like as much. So I just said, let me get the regular ones, and we'll do it without the orange peel today, and we'll figure it out for the next time.
Nice. Very good.
I love just like buying bitters once in a supermarket and like it shows up on the screen. You need to be ID'd. There's like,
Is that true?
oh yeah, there's like so little alcohol
Oh, I
in
didn't
bitters.
know
It's
that.
like silly.
Our first cocktail.
Yeah, very cool. We have to do more of these.
Yeah, we do.
Paper planes, old fashions, Bloody Marys, of course.
Oh yeah.
I was the beneficiary of many paper planes one night.
Yeah, I missed that
All
night.
right. Well, let it be told. So Puba had sent a photo over our group chat that he had ordered a paper plane somewhere in Denver, which immediately not a good idea. The problem
Yeah,
is
no paper planes in Denver.
not in
guys.
Denver. No.
It's the elevation. It's the
Yeah.
problem.
No, the problem is a proper paper plane is actually very hard to find. I say this because I had my first one in San Diego without even knowing it. I met this bartender, this guy Heath, the best bartender I've ever met anywhere, period. And, one of those where like, tell me what flavor notes you like and I'm going to make you something. And he makes me this drink. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. What is it? And he's like, it's a paper plane, but it's my take on it. He's like, I modified it slightly. The proportions of a paper plane, everything's 1-to-1. It's just everything is the exact same amount, but he modifies certain things, a little more of some, a little less of others. And he actually made it with rye, which it's traditionally made with bourbon. So kind of like Pagoda was saying, how he likes to use rye in Manhattans. And I love this cocktail. So I just assumed you could go to any reputable cocktail bar in a city and order it, and you'd have the same experience. And I learned the hard way. You cannot. And finally, when I figured out what the downfall is in all these places, I was at actually a cigar bar in Nashville. There's this cool speakeasy. I think it's called like the Red Phone Booth, and you literally go into a phone booth. There's like a secret door, a
That's
whole
in
thing.
Atlanta.
No, there's one
Really?
in
Isn't
Nashville.
there one in Atlanta too?
Probably,
remember
but this is a different
yeah,
place.
Okay.
And beautiful lounge, like awesome space, gorgeous leather chairs, dim lights, this insanely ornate bar. It's such a cool spot. And I just remember asking the waitress that came over, I said, can your bartender make a paper plane? She goes, let me ask, but I'm pretty sure he can. Comes back, absolutely. And I said, you have everything you need to make a paper plane. And the key thing is there's a zillion types of Amaro, and a paper plane's made with Amaro Nannino. And she brings the cocktail back, and I'm looking at it, and it's way darker than it normally looks. And I take a sip, and the first thing I knew, I said to her, I said, show me the bottle of Amaro Nannino behind the bar. Just bring it here. She comes back. She's like, wow, you're good. She's like, we don't have Amaro Nannino. He used Amaro Averna. And I said, that's why it doesn't taste the same. So it's really hard to find a good paper plane. And I assume Puba had a similar frustrating experience. So when this whole photo came about, I got a lot of flack on the Lizard chat. Led by our MC Gizmo here, saying, I've only been waiting years to have a paper plane. I guess it'll be another 3 years till Senator makes us a paper plane.
It's true.
So
until I was,
exactly.
Now all of a sudden
ingratiated.
You've
in the
changed
whole
your tune.
Paper. Oh, I have.
So what does a proper lizard do? If he's called out for not providing for his fellow lizards, he's going to rectify that not tomorrow.
Immediately.
So after
It was like 1 a.m. by the way.
It was not that late, but it wasn't
11:30, 11:45.
11
Bam
something.
showed up in pajamas.
I did.
And so
And house slippers.
I go look in my bar. I had just enough of everything I needed to make a few of them, loaded them up in a bag, brought it straight to the lounge. And I said, any lizard that wants a paper plane, meet me at the lounge. I'm going to make them right now.
And what did I say?
Sure enough, Bam Bam, on my way. Immediately. So Bam's there. He took this. I have to say, Bam he was a videographer in another life. I should have hired him at like my wedding or something years ago. He takes this actually very impressive video.
Stop it, Bam.
I like
videos. Oh, we know.
No, but honestly, I had to witness this for myself because we've been talking about this for so freaking long. I had to come. I was exhausted. I didn't want to come.
Did it live up to it?
Dude,
all
they are delicious. This is also delicious, but it's a completely different cocktail.
Totally different.
Yeah.
I haven't had the right paper plane. Remember, I called you from a restaurant once?
Yeah.
It was citrusy, refreshing, lemony, beautiful.
Earthy, too. That's what Amaro does.
On
it's
the finish.
Just complex.
The finish, the earthiness I get on the finish.
What is Amaro? What is that spirit?
Let's save that for the episode because...
okay. It's a deep dive.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
got
boy.
it. Okay.
I just love that he interviews bartenders before he walks into a bar.
Yeah.
I got to say... So,
can I see your CV, please?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but this guy, like, no exaggeration. This guy, so there's this is for any lizard that's in Southern California, that spends any time in San Diego. There's this another speakeasy place called Prohibition Lounge, and they have live music there. It's very cool. It's like, looks like a law office outside. Obviously, it's not. And you go down in like this basement, and they've just built, it's a small bar, then seating all along the wall, and then they've got like a little stage that they have live music. And I've heard some great music there. And this guy Heath, I would always go and make these amazing cocktails. And I remember one time I go back and I'm looking around and I don't see Heath there. And I know what nights he normally works there. I'm like, what happened to Heath? They're like, he left. I mean, I was distraught. If I could have put this guy in retainer just to make me cocktails for the rest of my life, I would. I mean, that's how good this guy was. So funny thing is, this ruined I am almost in a state of depression that I'm never going to have this guy make me a paper plane there. So we end up leaving because some other bartender tried to make me one. It wasn't the same. So we leave. We're trying to find somewhere else. And there's a place called, it's like something like Whiskey House in San Diego. And fun trivia fact, the single biggest collection of whiskey at any bar, not in the US, in the world, the most distinct bottles of whiskey, that includes bourbon, rye, scotch, any whiskey, is in San Diego at this place.
What?
I'm pretty sure it's like Whiskey House.
Wow.
And so we go in there, and there's so many bottles behind this bar. you know, a library that has like the ladders you got to go up to get books
Yeah.
and stuff really up high. There's that many
That's
bottles.
incredible.
It is insane
That's
when you walk
incredible.
in this place.
And very random.
Rooster
is.
has that ladder system in his connoisseur corner. At
Yes,
home.
he does. I know.
Let me get the-
1910 cigars.
Let me get the Robania. It's up on shelf
1964.
So the funny thing is, I'm with a colleague and we sit at the bar. We're looking, the menu is like a novel. I mean, so many options. We're looking through this. And at first I saw a woman behind the bar and I thought she was going to help us. And the next thing, as I'm reading the menu, this guy comes over and he's like, "Can I help you?" And I hear this like raspy voice. And I'm like, that sounds familiar, that voice. I look up and I'm like, Heath? He's like, "Senator?" And I couldn't believe he now works there.
Wow.
And so I said, "Well, you know what I want."
This was a match made in
It was
heaven.
unbelievable.
This is like You've
Hey,
Got Mail.
You had
Tom
no
Hanks.
idea he works
No
there.
clue.
Wow.
We left so disappointed at Prohibition Lounge, just looked up like, where can we get a good cocktail? We find this place that apparently has this huge whiskey collection. We didn't know it held the Guinness World Record at the time. When you walk in, they have the whole plaque and stuff, and we were reading about it. And just by pure luck, that's where he went to work.
Bam, this is like
Cool.
misconnections, you know?
Do you keep in touch with him?
Not in a while. No,
So
because
he's-
I basically, I had a client in San Diego. I was out there every few weeks for like 2 years. And it's been a while since I've had to regularly be out there. So not
Well,
anymore, but man, if
we
I
have
go
it.
back.
We have a lizard budget to fly him in, right?
We should do it.
We should do it.
And the other thing is like the bartending community is so small in a lot of these cities. Like, I mean, people know who he is there. Like everybody knows who this guy is.
That's
So
cool.
I'm sure I could find
And
him.
San Diego is a great place to visit if anybody ever gets the opportunity to
Yeah,
go
that's a
there.
great place to go.
Never been there. Would love to go.
The best weather.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing.
Cigar friendly too. A lot of
Yeah.
cigar bars.
Oh,
really?
cool.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Especially that old town area.
Mhm.
Really cool.
Yeah. Right by the gas lamp district.
Yes.
So now I'm like super pumped to have a paper plane. Obviously, Bam was raving about his experience.
I
with
had
Senator
4
the other night.
that night.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was awesome.
Yeah. My
Delicious.
Tesla
Wish I
drove
could
me
have been
home.
there.
Literally.
And this Manhattan is actually very good.
It
And
is.
It does get better and better as you drink it. Now this has more viscosity than a paper plane. I feel
It does. Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
If you do 4 of these, you're going to be wheeling me out of here. It's got a punch.
Well, we got a long way to go tonight. So
So, boys, we had some listener emails I wanted to talk about as we're coming into the fall here. First, Lizard Bill, who is one of the OG emailers, listeners from many, many moons ago, emailed asking about what our tower recommendations are, specifically which towers we're recommending currently.
This will be a good
And
discussion.
then also, as I followed up with that, he wanted to know what Rooster thought of his new Vigilant Tower, the Vault, because I don't think we talked about that after Rooster had gotten his Vault this summer. So first off, kind of just going around the room, I know. So Senator, you and Pagoda have the
Tower of Power.
the Tower of Power,
As do I.
very appropriate.
That's
And
right.
Bam
Sam
does
too.
too,
Yeah.
with Cigar Oasis units in them.
Right.
And Rooster and I have the Vigilant Vault 2000, which is a custom build. The Tower of Power, you can just go online and order. You also order the Cigar Oasis separately, and you're done. You have it in a couple weeks, I guess, if they're in stock, wherever you're getting them from. For Rooster and I, though, they make the Vigilant makes each of their vaults to spec.
And it's also double wide.
It's a double wide.
Yeah.
Yours is a single.
That's right.
Single
door.
Yeah, you can customize the Vigilant with if you want glass front or if you don't.
Mhm.
I initially did not want the glass front, but then when I saw Giz's
Yeah.
at his house,
It looks
I'm like,
great.
this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Especially with the lights and everything, it
Oh,
looks
yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Because the light, the strip is actually inlaid into the door
Yeah.
area, not on the cabinet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it really looks nice.
It
And
projects the light
It projects
inward.
the light. Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
chose the right LEDs.
And there's
it's
no
the
shadow.
Right, it's the right hue. There's
Right. It's not
Yeah.
It's
white.
complete coverage, no matter how much you
Well-
have or don't have in your tower.
Honestly, that's important because if you have, let's say, if you've got a puck light underneath each shelf, you'll have a ton of shadow. That layout will project light inward, so you won't have any shadow. You can see all your boxes.
Right.
It's kinda
And
cool.
the shelves are nice and deep. There's
Yeah.
a lot of space between, and you can adjust the height of the shelves. So my unit, I have not ordered the Oasis as of yet. I'm running it just without it because the ambient, the RH
The humidity.
is,
Yeah.
it's pretty good because in the summertime the humidity goes up. So it stays around like 63, 64.
So can I tell you something? I think I mentioned this. I took my Oasis unit out midsummer because it was
So did
very
I.
humid.
So did
I
I.
have yet to put it back in.
So that's what's funny. I'm actually on the verge now about putting my Cigar Oasis back in.
I was thinking the same thing.
So what's
Yeah.
funny, I didn't technically take my Cigar Oasis out. I just took the distilled water out of it because I have the auxiliary fans running at the top because I like air circulation happening.
Gizmo designed.
That's right.
So I have
fabricated.
So I have that running. That's tied to the Cigar Oasis. So I'm just going to put the distilled water back in because we're coming to that time of year where where my tower is in my home, and I'm sure for a lot of you guys here in the Northeast, we're getting to that point where the ambient in the actual room that it's in is going to start to drop as it starts to get colder and drier out. So I'm going to have to put distilled water in. And that's important too. Like, to Rooster's point, I've always heard that a full humidor is a stable humidor, obviously, which is what Rooster, experiences by not having, a Cigar Oasis or humidification device in his tower. It's pretty full. So that's why it's, maintains its humidity.
It
But
stabilizes.
now, even for Rooster, I don't know if his basement is a little bit more humid than mine. But, we're certainly getting to that time of year where, like, for you too, Bam, like we're going to have to put our humidification devices back in.
Yeah, like I said, I took it out. I've been thinking about getting it back in. My RH is pretty good.
What's your target date to put it back in, Bam?
Depends on the humidity.
I feel like next September he's gonna have it in.
I'm avoiding this joke. Depends on the hygrometer. All right, boys.
Where is the unit? Is it?
It's in the cellar.
It is.
It is next to my office.
So it stays kind of humid.
Very, yeah. It's right now. It's hovering at 64, and it's been between 62 and 65 for 3 months without the Oasis.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so mine's a little closer to 60 right now, so I'm kind of getting to that point, which I like my tower low. My New Worlds, I kind of like closer to 64, 65. Cuban's closer to 62, 61. So I'm certainly getting to that point where I'm going to have to put distilled water back in mine. But it's interesting, the listeners are experiencing this too. I mean, even in Tupperware, even if you have a great seal, every time you open that Tupperware, and it's in mid-July, mid-August, or if you live in Florida, Texas, or all year round, you're dealing with.
You're probably leaving everything out down in those areas because the humidity is so high.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's too high.
Too high.
Very
What do you
high.
do?
Yeah, you have to throw low Bovida in, or
Call Gizmo and have him deliver kitty litter.
some kitty litter.
He'll get on the plane for you guys.
But I guess my question for you guys, based on the listener question, I think for Rooster and I, our towers are newer. We only got ours this year. Certainly, I would emphatically recommend the Vigilant Vault.
It's great.
System.
Great unit.
Well, it depends on the collector, right? I'm very happy with the Tower Power 2. It's a sizable unit. You guys have the double wide. So for the more seasoned guy or girl that's collecting a lot of cigars, Cubans, you're going to need a bigger tower. And that's what you have.
Well, yeah. But also, I mean, I lived in a Tupperware for like maybe 8 months.
Yeah.
It took forever to get that unit. So, so plan ahead if you decide on getting the Vigilant. I mean, it's going to take at least 4 to 6 months to get it.
Yeah, and you're going to spend a lot of money filling that unit.
Well, if you already have the boxes,
That's
in
true.
Tupperware,
Yeah,
That's
not
true.
necessarily. I mean, if I got that, I have 2 very large Tupperwares full in addition
is
to
true.
my tower.
Yes, that's
So
true.
like that would all fit in the Vigilant,
Plus,
which would
yeah.
be good.
In the
That's
double
true.
wide, you're able to be more efficient with space, and you're not cramming, and you're not having to play as much Tetris.
Yeah.
Like
I am a Tetris master. in that freaking
I
thing.
was before.
Yeah.
I used to have the Remington.
Yeah.
And now I have the double wide Vigilant, but it's like I'm just able to, and I have a thing now where I'm just not going back into Tupperware. Like I'm done now. So
Hold on. I got a question for you.
what's that?
Are you combining New Worlds and Cubans in your single unit?
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. So I split my
Interesting.
Yeah. So my long-term Cuban storage that I don't plan on touching for 4, 5, 10 years is at the bottom.
Okay.
So I have like a bunch of Sir Winstons down there, Lucy cabs, etc.
And they're locked in.
And they're locked in. I look at them maybe once a year. The rest of the shelf above that, I only have one shelf dedicated to New Worlds, which is Padron, Davidoff, some of the cigars we've talked about on the podcast recently that we've all bought boxes of, and then the rest of the tower are Cubans.
So you can't do that in a Tower of Power because of the volume of Cuban cigars that we have. I have all of my New Worlds in Tupperwares, big containers, 2 of them. My Tower of Power is full of Cuban stock, and I kind of like the separation of the two personally.
So you like to keep things separate.
I do.
I think we'd like to come and see it.
Sure.
I think you're ready for another tower.
But
Yeah,
honestly,
sounds like it.
maybe, but the New Worlds, I do keep that at a higher humidity, just a little bit more than the Cubans. And for me,
Right.
I don't have the talent that Gis has. You know,
I resent that.
no, you don't. It's a great name. Come on, Gis. So for me, the separation makes sense.
By the way, on the chat, my friends here in the room, my friends have changed my name from Giz to Gis because I pronounced Tesla with a Z instead of an S, which they don't like.
Just incorrect.
It's a treasure, that name. It's just a treasure. And it was perfect timing, Rooster. You're just sitting there. You're talking about Tesla being pronounced with the Z. So should we call you Gis? Fucking great timing.
It's perfect.
So for Senator and Pagoda, on your Tower of Powers, do you share the same mentality that Bam does as far as keeping things separate? Is everything commingled? Like, what do you guys do?
So I for some reason, I like to commingle them, but I do have them on different shelves. So like I have, so basically the top 2, I keep loose sticks so that I can just easily grab stuff every day and I don't have to rummage through boxes. And the top shelf is Cuban. The shelf below that's New World. And then for the rest, for box storage, Cuban, New World. So that's kind of been my system.
Yeah, and in our Tower of Power, the humidity tends to kind of gravitate at the bottom.
Bottom, yeah.
Any.
Yeah, mine does too.
That's true.
Yeah.
So New Worlds down there does make sense.
Yeah.
So like I have a single tray of loose Cubans in a cedar tray I got on Amazon, which is awesome. It's like $20. Nice, Spanish cedar. It works perfectly. I just slide it. That's on the very, very top shelf. So I use that for kind of quote unquote dry boxing, or if I have loose cigars, I put that at the very top, and that's closer to 60, where the bottom's closer to 65.
Right.
I'm a huge advocate, honestly, for keeping loose sticks in a tower. I just say that because it's weird. I can't prove this, but there are boxes of Cubans that I've had where I've like pulled one from the box and I've smoked it and I've said like, I'm not that thrilled with this. And then I'll just take them and just throw them up in that tray for like 3 months. And I'll just come back to it. And especially at the top where it's the lowest level humidity in the entire tower.
You're almost dry boxing at the top.
It's a world's difference. I mean, boxes that I literally would have contemplated just like moving and getting rid of versus taking them out and letting them kind of dry box for a couple months just up at that top. I can't emphasize how much of a difference it makes.
Yep.
Yeah. Only thing I do different is I take the loose sticks and I put them in 5-finger bags so they don't touch each other, and because the wrappers are sometimes very fragile.
Right. When you were a kid, did you keep your food separate on the plate? The peas
all
don't
the
touch
vegetables.
The peas don't touch the chicken, and the gravy stays over here.
No, there was no chicken.
So I am very, very much in agreement with Senator on dry boxing. And I think that the important thing for any listener out there who's in a desktop humidor, who's in Tupperware, who's buying a cigar or a $5 at a time or a box of cigars, whatever your purchasing habit is, however you like to procure your cigars and store them, if that means you're buying them for the week, I am very, very into dry boxing cigars.
Of course.
Now, like we're talking about inside our towers, we effectively have a dry boxing system inside the tower. But for someone who's living in Tupperware, like even for you, Bam, with your New Worlds, like we experienced that on the podcast. When I bring cigars in for us to smoke, New World cigars like this one tonight, this has been in my tower, dry boxing, for 2 months now.
If you look at the top shelf,
I think we're experiencing the benefit of that when we smoke the Oliva Villancero.
Agreed.
We smoked this cigar tonight.
Agreed.
Coming down out of humidity from that brick and mortar, which is shipping them with a 69 or 72% Boveda, it really matters.
Yeah. So when I want to smoke my New Worlds, I will pull from the Tupperware and leave them on my top shelf for a couple of days or a week or longer, knowing that I'll get to it eventually. I think for me, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I use the desktop humidor for.
Yeah.
For dry
When it comes-
boxing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Throw in like a 60 Bovida in there.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pagoda, what's your tower setup like? Is everything kind of commingled, or do you keep it separate?
It's commingled.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I still haven't set up, what the hydrometer? Or
Hygrometer?
Well, you have a hygrometer,
yeah,
but your Oasis is probably
the Oasis. That's the
Yeah.
only one. So all my New Worlds are in the bottom, all the Cubans on top, and in the middle I have all loose sticks.
Yeah,
So.
so there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's working.
Honestly, the tower is a revelation, man.
The tower is so
Oh
crucial.
my God.
Especially, there's a lot of deals. I mean, on Facebook Marketplace, you can find used towers out there. So for listeners, this is not something that's terribly cost prohibitive when you're investing in cigars, if it's Cuban or not. We're smoking a New World cigar tonight. Even for New World cigars, when you can find a deal, if you're able to buy stuff you like and store it and dry it out a
Yeah.
little bit, like, I don't think that the cost of a tower is really as prohibitive as I thought it was before I entered into the fray. Like, I found it to be very reasonable, and it's like it's storing my collection that's so important to me. It's like it's important to have a vessel, and also for the bride, for Mrs. Gizmo, when she sees it with
The
light,
bride?
when she sees the light on, it's like a piece of furniture. Like,
Yeah,
it looks
it's true.
amazing.
Yeah. So I walk by my tower every morning and I just look at it and I go about my day. Get in a shower, get dressed. My office is right next door to my room. It's a nice thing. It's
Yeah.
nice. You guys, I'm very thankful early in our lizard days to have gotten that recommendation. I'm very happy. Very, very happy.
Yeah,
with it.
I'll just say, I mean, for anybody considering a tower, you will always make the money back. I mean, you remember when I got my tower very early in the pandemic, I spent obviously a lot of money to just fill it. But the prices, because I could finally, when you see a deal,
Oh, that's
it doesn't
exactly
matter
right.
what you smoke out there, you will come across at some point a great deal on
Yeah.
a box of cigars that you love. And when I only had a desktop humidor or two, I could just get like a couple boxes and that's it. And it's like, that's the best price I'll probably ever find that for at that
Mhm.
moment. And once you get that tower and you find a deal and you can buy 5, 7, 10 of those boxes
That's right.
and just store them and just watch over years' time the price go up and sit there and say, look at all the money that I've saved. You pay for the tower with
I'm-
the money you're saving
I'm getting
by being able to
goosebumps.
store cigars.
From what he's saying right now, because I think the exact same thing. You're banking your cigars. If you're getting a great deal, buy them and bank them.
And
Keep them in that tower.
And by keeping them in the tower, not only the increase in value
Mm.
in your collection, which we don't buy to flip or sell
No.
or profit from, but it's also, look at the experience that we had with those 80th anniversary Padrones.
Bingo.
Oh.
That's exactly what was in my head.
You
Can
know-
I just give the example on that?
Go ahead.
That box, when I got my tower in 2020, a box of those with VIP on Atlantic, I paid $180. Right now, they're $280. I bought 10 boxes at one time when I got the tower.
Do you remember how
Right-
cheap they were at one time?
Right
Yeah.
there. The
It was
tower
160.
back then, I paid
Unbelievable.
$800 for. Now it's obviously more than that. That purchase alone, the $100 per box I've saved, that's $1,000 savings. That has more than paid for the tower just with my order of the 80th.
Exactly.
Forget all the other boxes.
That's exactly right.
And-
exactly right.
And the cigars, by being in the situation that you have set up for yourself in your tower, they've almost definitely improved.
I mean, we know it because
Wow.
I brought the 80th that I aged for 4 years and we gave it a 10.
Incredible.
A perfect 10.
It crystallized.
Literally.
The only counter to that argument really is a cigar that has peaked or is past its peak, that with time is not going to improve. And I think most of us have found that that's really only happening in a negative way, either with cigars that are just not previewing well or just aren't aren't going to age well, or they're so old
Yeah.
that
yeah.
they're just kind of past their peak.
And we've smoked cigars where we've realized aging them any further won't bring you any value
so
or,
smoke them.
or experience. Smoke them and finish them. But I think everything that we have in our collections will age very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you have multiple boxes from different years,
Oh,
you
yeah.
keep the older ones in the front, keep the newer ones in the back,
And
and you
that's
smoke out of the older
that's the
ones.
amazing experience with a tower, because you can kind of look at your age, your box dates, and really move them around and sample from time to time.
And
It's
like-
fantastic.
And I think both Rooster and Senator have said, you have a box that's not smoking great, you just put it in the back of the tower. I'm
Forget
going to
about it.
revisit this in a year.
Yeah.
I'm going to revisit this in 6 months.
Yep.
And it's accumulating in value, and more importantly for what we do, it's improving in its experience and flavor when you
Sure.
do decide to smoke them. It's a beautiful thing.
Where honestly, when you have just a desktop humidor and you're in a situation where you get a box that you really don't like, it's just a bad box, right? Whether it's the factory code, the age on it, it needs more time. When you have limited space, you're sitting there saying, like, I'm not going to take up half of my desktop humidor with these cigars that I hate. But when you have a tower, you just throw them in the back.
Yeah.
And you revisit it in a year or two, and you may have a dramatically different experience. And you're glad that in the desktop situation, you might have just given them all away or thrown them out because that's precious real estate. You can only store so much there. You want the things that you can pull regularly and enjoy.
That's true.
And I think there's something to be said too about air movement. Certainly I experienced when I had stuff in Tupperware for as long as I did, and then moving to the Remington, now to the Vault, the ability for air to move around these cigars, it does improve that experience with time, on every cigar that's in my tower.
Yeah. True.
Nothing doesn't, everything benefits from time as far as I've experienced in my tower.
In this hobby in particular, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, boys. So we're in the last third here of the Foundation Olmec Robusto. What are you guys thinking?
I like it. I've had a bunch of these, honestly, and it's a pretty consistent cigar.
Yeah, I would like to try the Maduro in this.
I think you guys would like that.
I'm curious how that would.
I've only had one, and it is more Padron-like than this cigar is. I find this, like everything we've talked about, the floral notes that are kind of interwoven in this cigar, it's a different experience.
Right.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
It has picked up a little bit in strength
It
also
has.
in the last, I would say like in the last third
Yeah.
or so.
Yep.
I was going to say the exact same thing, Rooster. I think the last third picks up in a very, very nice way and gets like close to medium full.
Yeah.
Which is probably where most of us, our kind of sweet spot is. So the last third I've enjoyed more than anything. And I mean, I'm smoking this down to the nub.
That is a
which
shocker.
Does not happen often.
It does not.
And like Rooster said, I would definitely want to try the Maduro in this.
Yeah.
No, same here. What I found was halfway through the cigar was the first time I felt a little bit of the minerality which you had mentioned, and I did also get a little bit of spice towards the halfway through the cigar, and I think that's somewhat muted a bit, but overall very, very nice. I'm really enjoying it.
I would love another Manhattan. They are so good.
Well, when we're done recording, we're going to have like 3 or 4 more. I thought the second half of the cigar was better than the first half, which
because it picked up.
It picked up, but
Yeah.
it also, I feel like the blending decision, it took us on a journey, as opposed to how many times have we talked about a Nicaraguan manufacturer, wanting to punch you in the face out the gate, and then by the second third, the last third, it's a completely dull, dead experience, because they're trying to punch you, on the light. What I like what Melillo did here is that it was a slow introduction. It was a journey the whole way through, and it kind of picked up as it went for me. And I thought the second half was much better than the first for me.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I got to tell you guys, I got a call from a friend of mine the other day who was at a bachelor party. They were at a cigar store. They were kind of bouncing around, and they ended up at a cigar shop. And
what city?
They were in Edgewater.
Okay.
New Jersey.
Yes,
Okay.
Edgewater,
Yeah.
New Jersey.
That's an upper end town.
Yeah, so these guys weren't like regular lizard cigar smokers like we are smoking. Maybe they smoke a cigar a month or at a wedding, or very rarely. But, they had some interesting preferences on flavor. So they called and said, hey, what do you think? And they ended up putting me on the phone with the owner of the shop.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Which
saying,
shop were they at?
I
Because
don't know.
I don't remember any.
Edgewater shops.
There's only one in Fort Lee.
There
I
is a
don't know.
private club in Edgewater.
Yeah.
If they were there, I'm not sure if they sell cigars or not.
I don't know where they were. So I get this call and I end up on the phone with the shop, the shopkeeper at the time, and eventually the owner. I got 2 people. Like the first one was like, hold on, you got to talk to the owner. I talked to him. It was amazing. I'm asking him various cigars that he has. Do you have this? Do you have Davidoff Millennium? Because they told me they wanted something premium and a little bit of flavor. They had a big meal. Like they were ready to have a really nice cigar. I got on the phone with these folks, man. They had no idea what was in their humidor, to the point that I'm asking them, do you have Padron 1964? They're telling me, oh yeah, we have. I'm looking at the band. It says 1964. It's the number 44. It's the number 1. I'm like, no, those are not the 1964 line. Every cigar that Padron makes has the 1964 on it because that's when the company was founded.
Right.
Let's talk about the lines. I'm telling you, it took me 20 minutes to get to the point that they had the Tubo 1964 cigars. I think they got the Soberanos or the Presidentes,
But
but
those are okay.
they had
they're
a great
great.
experience.
Yeah, the Soberanos are
It
great.
took me 20 minutes to get to that point. but-
Presidente
Wow.
too.
How can
Yeah, very
how
good.
can you own a business and you don't know your inventory? You don't know what you have.
It's a disgrace. Let's just call it
That's-
for what
I mean,
it is.
I can understand. I mean, even an employee working there should know
Of
what's
course.
in the
Of
humidor.
course.
It's literally all they do is sell cigars. I don't understand. Like, now figure this. Like, I have a pretty good understanding of New World cigars and what I would recommend to people who are looking for something that's a premium experience. I think all of us would say the same. Now, imagine you're walking in there. You have no idea. You don't have anybody to call. These folks don't know how to communicate with someone who has a good understanding.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, someone who's walking in and saying,
No understanding.
I'm at a bachelor party. We want a great experience. They don't even know what to recommend them.
Wow.
I want to know what store this is so I can avoid it.
I was shocked.
I think we
because-
should buy it.
because they're ready to put $400 or $500 down. There were a bunch of guys there. I
Wow.
think there were 10, 12, 15 guys at this bachelor party
Wow.
ready to make a nice big
That's
transaction
a
for
good
the
sale.
store.
It's a good sale.
How do you not know what you have?
Wow.
How do you
It's-
not know
it's,
what to
uh,
recommend?
I mean, Edgewater is an affluent town.
Very.
You know, there's a lot of guys who live there,
Oh yeah.
a lot of younger people who commute into the city
That's right.
and probably are cigar smokers. And
Yep.
I don't even know if it must
don't-
be in Fort Lee.
It may
I
be
don't
in
know.
Fort Lee. It could be West New York. It's right on the water, not far from there, possibly.
I'm sure that all of us have experienced this in the past, right? I mean,
Well, that's what's sad about this whole story. I mean, there's unfortunately this is a dime a dozen. I mean, we go back to our former lounge.
yeah,
I mean, this is a brick and mortar shop that's existed in the town I live in
for 40 years.
for 40 years. And you assume a business with that longevity that the folks in there really know a lot about cigars. And what I was just so shocked to unfortunately learn is, I would ask, what's the difference between this cigar and that cigar? I don't know, but they're all great. And you're just sitting there like, you're the only reason that I would choose to pay more money
Mhm.
to buy from a brick and mortar as opposed to saving money and buying online is because you're either going to tell me something that I'm not going to be told on a website, right? You're going to educate me in some way, and that's going to make me purchase something that maybe I wasn't planning on initially, or you're going to demonstrate such great knowledge and recommend stuff that I like and figure out my palate and profile that I want to give my business to you. And when
Yeah.
that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
it just defeats the purpose. And I say this because we all want to support brick and mortar. I mean, we love our lounge here. I hope anyone that's in this area buys cigars from this place. It's just so frustrating when you go into some of these spots and the people there
Yeah.
clearly are not at all serious about cigars. And I just don't know how you run a business, a cigar shop, a tobacco shop, and not even understand your product and expect people to support it.
Especially when you're competing with the internet.
Yeah, that's true. And there's something called salesmanship. And
Yeah.
it kind of goes to what Senator's saying. You have to know your product and you have to have a conversation with your customer and understand what they're looking for and make several recommendations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Every lizard deserves a Heath tobacconist.
Exactly.
There you
Exactly.
go.
That's right.
Well said. To me, it's like, when I walk into a brick and mortar place, it's like I'm no expert. We're not experts. We're just maybe one step ahead of someone
Well-
else or 10 steps behind. That's not what we do here.
but we know what we like.
But also, I want to walk in and have a conversation with someone, and I want to have when we're paying the kind of premium you do at a brick and mortar, you're looking for an experience to be curated for you. You're going to sit down, you're going to spend 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours smoking cigars, meeting new people, having some drinks, and enjoying a relaxing time there. Curate an experience for me. Like, ask me the right questions and take the information I give you and feed me, to some place in the humidor that is going to deliver an excellent experience. I don't understand that kind of,
Yeah.
operation.
Honestly, spirits and cigars deserve that kind of attention
of course.
for it to be curated for you as a customer so you know what to buy and what you want to experience specifically that day, especially if you're with a group of guys after a wedding.
This is what makes me realize that Nat Sherman was a boon to me because every time I went there, firstly, in one store, there were like 6 or 7 of them working
Yeah.
in
That's
one
the
small store.
42nd Street location.
Yeah, and you would walk in, and there would be a guy who would come to you as soon as you walked in, and he would start engaging, in a conversation with you, try and understand what you're seeking, take you to the humidor, get you the cigar, come in, and sign you out. Meaning the experience was wonderful. In fact, you talk about foundation cigars and Nick Melillo. These were recommended by, I think I'd mentioned in one of my podcasts, either Cliff or maybe Jeff, who had recommended this to me. And he kind of understood my palate and he wanted me to try different cigars. And I was in that phase where I was trying a lot of new worlds at that point in time. And it helps you in the process of discovery, right? And and something to be said about old school sales,
Yeah.
course.
mentality.
Even for us, where we've smoked thousands of cigars in our cigar careers, it's nice to walk into a place and just have a conversation and let them recommend. And it's a different experience,
Yeah.
Especially for somebody who's novice, like
Yeah.
a group of guys going into a bachelor,
Yeah,
like in a
novice
bachelor
or
party.
even a seasoned cigar
Just
smoker.
waving cash around saying, give us a great hour and a half. I mean, it's crazy. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if they walk away with the wrong cigars, they'll never get.
They're never coming
Oh,
back.
never
that's
come back.
exactly right.
And it's like, to me, and I think I speak for everybody in this room, and I think I speak for the Lizard listener who's sitting with us right now. There's nothing more important to me than my time, even more than money, my time. So when I'm offering up my time to you, in addition to money, but when I'm offering up my time to you and I'm saying, please help me fill this time with something great, deliver. If this is what you do, this is what you've chosen to do for your career, just do it.
keep an eye out for the future Lizard Lounges coming up across the country.
Are you going to build them?
Yes.
We can't afford it.
I'll give you the Lizard discount.
All right, boys. So we're coming to the end of our evening here with the Bulleit Bourbon and the Foundation Olmec Robusto in Claro. Any final thoughts before we get to our ratings?
It did get very peppery for me in the last few.
Did it?
Yeah,
I didn't get a pepper bomb.
No.
right now,
And
I
I'm
just
very
got
happy
it.
about that.
No,
I
it's
just got
actually, I'm right down to a half inch. It's still quite nice.
I mean, just the fact that I think everybody smoked
nubbed it.
this to the nub.
Yeah.
I mean, truly. I mean, we've reviewed some shocking New World cigars that we were pleasantly surprised by, and I don't recall a time that every single person in the room, I mean, could feel their fingers burning. That's how far down they're smoking the cigar.
All right, so let's do the formal liquor rating on the Bulleit Bourbon, which we had in a Manhattan tonight, but we're going to rate the bourbon as it was, neat or with ice.
Okay.
Bam Bam, you're up.
I have to give it an 8. Once I put a few chips of ice in the bourbon straight, it was really drinkable, delicious, easy to go down. Fantastic. 8.
Okay. Pagoda.
It's an 8 for me as well. You know what I'm pleasantly surprised about is the fact that I really enjoy the bourbon with ice. I always have Bulleit in my house, and the reason is because I do tend to make quite a few cocktails with that. But having said that, I've never really had it neat, or just as an independent drink
With a chip of ice.
with a chip of ice,
Yeah.
and this has been fantastic.
It's very
And
pleasant.
it has been, in fact, very, very pleasant.
Yeah.
Definitely an 8 for me.
And the price point just unbeatable.
Unbeatable.
Senator.
So I'm going to start quickly with the price point. The price point is insane. It's $30 at Total Wine.
Wow.
Yeah, at Bottle King was a bit more. Yeah. But that's just ridiculous.
Crazily affordable.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it on the rocks. I enjoyed it in the cocktail. You very clearly see why this is stocked in every single bar. I mean, I don't think I've ever walked in a bar that doesn't carry Bulleit. In a Manhattan, it was great. Perfectly served its purpose. You talk about like a large gathering, and you at that point you're kind of preparing for volume, right? This is not like a small gathering of the highest quality. It's what's going to please a large enough crowd and not break the bank. And I think this fits in perfectly. So I'm at a very strong 8.
I'm also at an 8. Don't need to do the math on that, boys. Great bourbon. I'm
Absolutely.
really impressed with it.
It's surprising, actually.
Listen, it served the Manhattan brilliantly, but
Oh, yeah.
by itself with 2 chips of ice
Delicious.
for $30, I mean, That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Pagoda, great job on that cocktail.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Oh no, thank you for that.
I'm ready for another.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely make it, and then we'll do it again when I get everything, including my own measurement.
The proprietary Pagoda
yeah.
mix.
Dr. P. Dr. P mix.
The pagoda juice.
Dr. P. Yeah, not whack juice, but Pagoda juice.
Oh my lord, this is getting horrible.
So the formal liquor rating on the Bulleit Bourbon is a flat 8.0, which I think is a perfect score for that. All right, boys, let's do the formal lizard rating on the Foundation Olmec, Robusto, and Claro. Brewster, you're up.
Yeah, so just like the bourbon, I think I'm going to score the cigar an 8 as well.
Woo.
It was really pleasurable. I would consider buying some of these.
Yeah.
And, the way it started out, like you said, it had like nice floral notes and all of that. And I love the floral notes. And it kind of built on that. About the halfway point, it kind of built in strength, and it became like a medium full. And towards the end, I think it almost became like a full cigar.
Almost.
Almost, yeah, in
Yeah.
body, not so much
That's
in
right.
strength,
Yep.
but everything. It was complex. The delivery was great. So it's an 8 for me.
Senator.
I'm in lockstep with Rooster. I couldn't agree more. I'll start by saying I do not think it's fair to call this cigar a beginner cigar. I really don't believe that. I think this is an every person's cigar. And some of my favorite cigars are cigars that, we talk about the Padron 64 Exclusivo. Sure, that's really built for a somewhat experienced smoker, but I've given that to countless people who smoke occasionally, and they have that and say, wow, this is great. And I think that this has the ability to appeal to someone who's just getting into cigars
Yeah.
as much as it does seasoned, lizards like us, that it had just enough to keep me interested all the way through. I mean, there was not a single point that I sat here and said, this is really boring. I just don't really see how I'd ever pick this up again. I would smoke it again. A cigar like this is especially helpful. We've talked about this many times. When you're in that brick and mortar in a random city, you're traveling, and you need to buy something there.
And the proprietor has no idea what he has in the humidor.
that as well.
You got to do your own digging.
And, you can't necessarily bring your own. If I saw this there, I would definitely pick it up. I know I would have an enjoyable experience. And I'm very excited to try this in Maduro as well. So it's a strong 8.
Nice.
So I'm right there with you guys. It started at a 7 for me, for sure. Maybe kind of a high 6, low 7, but it really finished strong. The last half was really good. I really enjoyed the pickup in strength. I thought the flavor really improved. I liked the journey. I liked that we stuck with it. And like Senator said, the fact that we all nubbed it like we did, the fact that I nubbed it down as far as I did, which was probably half an inch or even closer to a quarter of an inch, like burning my fingers, is a real testament to the cigar. So it's an 8 for me for sure. And I think if, all indications are accurate, I think the Maduro, if we do that next year, I think we should. I'm anticipating a really good cigar there.
Yeah.
So it's an 8 for me. Pagoda.
I'm a big Nick Melillo fan, meaning Foundation cigars. As you know, I really enjoy the Tabernacle. I used to smoke a lot of the Guguense or Huense. This is, I guess, the third cigar I'm smoking, which he's manufactured, I guess, but really enjoyed it. In the beginning, when I got the floral taste, I also got, there was some unique flavor, which kind of made me feel like there was some kind of a tea kind of a feel. I really enjoyed that. So I can't even say that I didn't enjoy the first half as much, because I did. And the second half was more, coming towards my flavor profile as well. And from my perspective, reasonably complex. Went from floral all the way. I experienced a minerality, a little bit of pepper. I think a fantastic experience tonight. Yeah, it's an 8 for me.
Nice.
All right, bam.
Yeah, I think the versatility of this cigar, I think, matters. It means, you mentioned earlier you'll have it in the morning with a cup of coffee, Senator. You can smoke this anytime during the day, any season of the year. It's an 8.
All right. Again, we don't have to do the math on that. Another flat 8.0 for the Foundation Olmec, Robusto, and Claro.
Nice pairing.
Yeah, very nice pairing.
And I'll just say in closing, going back to kind of the question that
I
you
was just about to
posed.
ask you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, why this is a definite, I mean, clearly the composite score in 8, that's a definite recommend among all the lizards. But for me, going back to that question, there really is not another New World Nicaraguan like this. And that's a huge, huge merit for me because I really feel like, anytime we light up a Nicaraguan cigar, we like instantly know what we're going to get. We're like, oh, that's a Nicaraguan. It's punchy, it's got a lot of flavor,
Yeah.
cocoa, some earth. And the fact that there were notes in this cigar that you don't traditionally get in Nicaraguan
Very
cigars,
unusual.
and that they were able to blend this in a way that even when it picked up in strength in the final third, it was still so smooth in
Mhm.
delivery. I mean, none of us would have nubbed this cigar if it got harsh at the end. So I just, for all those reasons, I'm really, really impressed with the blend and what they've done with the cigar.
For a cigar smoker that's not seasoned and hasn't been smoking cigars for very long, that floral note is so pronounced and it's intermingled with other notes that are distinguished. It's a great cigar for a guy that's been smoking for 10 years or for a year. And that's what's unique about this stick, I think.
So to double down on my question for you earlier, you said that there was that lane, which I think you just reinforced now, right? Of you see a lane of a smoker who would really enjoy this cigar. Do you have any other cigar call-outs that you would throw in that same lane, be it Cuban, be it Dominican, be it a Maduro or non-Nicaraguan cigar? Like, do you have any other cigars that you see kind of fitting in that lane?
I mean, I think most Cubans are very easy for someone who's new to cigars to kind of appreciate because none of them are particularly full, right? They're all firmly medium for the most part. So for Cubans, I think it's very easy for someone to find their journey and find their way in. With New World cigars, especially Nicaraguan tobacco, it's not that easy for someone who's not an experienced smoker to appreciate in the same way that those of us who have smoked a lot of cigars can. So, for me, I struggle to think of another Nicaraguan cigar that is as accessible palate wise, right? Not so full and so aggressive, and yet still complex flavor wise
And unique.
and unique
It's
that I would
unique.
put ahead of this as like a gateway into Nicaraguan tobacco. Like, Padron, I always say the Exclusivo is like the gateway, right? We've all had that experience. You have that, and then you just really start to do that deep dive into Padron and just Nicaraguan tobacco generally. But starting at an even more accessible point than
Mhm.
Padron does, because it is a fuller experience in this cigar, I think this is kind of hard to beat as
Yeah.
far as being an entry point into Nicaraguan tobacco.
And I just want to say one more thing. For somebody who's trying the cigar as a novice, at least when I used to try them, I used to really like the smoke output. This cigar does have a great smoke output
It does.
and very sharp razor burn. And I think
Yeah.
just overall, even for somebody wanting to try it, they'll get a good experience of a cigar. Although the smoke may not be very velvety, but it's still a reasonable smoke output, and you'll really enjoy it. So I'll definitely give it a try.
I totally agree. And I think it's important to mention that we said that this is the third Nick Melillo cigar, third foundation cigar we've done on the pod, and this falls right in the middle. So on episode 95, we did the Wise Man Toro Huaco, which got a 7.8, and the Tabernacle Robusto in Maduro got an 8.2.
That was a good cigar.
That was a good cigar.
Very
so
nice.
this ended up right in the middle at an 8.0. So, I wonder, seeing that the Tabernacle Robusto Maduro got an 8.2, I do wonder what this is going to do in the Maduro next year. Because
Interesting.
I'm feeling very good that the Maduro is going to really.
I happen to like that cigar. I've
Yeah.
only had one. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So an excellent pairing tonight, boys. A flat 8.0 for both the Bulleit Bourbon and the Foundation Olmec Robusto and Claro. And Pagoda, again, thank you for the Manhattans, man. They were excellent. And great night, boys. We'll see y'all next week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining us. You can find our merch store and ratings archive at our brand new website, loungelizardspod.com. That's loungelizardspod.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, hello@loungelizardspod.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.